All right, so our last method for solving quadratics is going to be the quadratic formula. Okay. So, just a reminder, quadratic function is y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. Okay, then your quadratic formula is this. So x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, and that's all over 2a. So what's going to happen is you're going to take your a, b, and c from your original function and plug it into your formula. And then you'll be able to use your calculator to solve it. Okay. So what I always do is I just identify a is 1, b is negative 4, c is negative 3. Okay. I think it helps just to identify them at first so then you get more comfortable with it. So then solving, we're going to have x equals negative b, so negative 4, plus or minus the square root of b squared, so negative 4 squared, minus 4 times a, which is 1, times c, which is negative 3, all over 2 times a, which is 1. So then I'm going to simplify this piece by piece. So negative 4 becomes positive 4. Two negatives make a positive. Plus or minus the square root of. Negative 4 squared in your calculator is positive 16. Minus 4 times 1 times negative 3 is negative 12. And then all over 2 times 1, which is 2. So then I'm going to simplify what's underneath my square root. So you get 4 plus or minus the square root of, so 16 minus negative 12 is actually 16 plus 12, which is 28, all divided by 2. From here, you're going to create two different expressions to type into your calculator. You're going to have 4 plus the square root of 28 divided by 2, and 4 minus the square root of 28 divided by 2. Okay. If you type this into your calculator and you don't get the answers that I get, okay, I will make sure to show you tomorrow when I see you again that how to type it into your calculator, because each calculator is a little bit different. Okay, so for the first one, so 4 plus square root of 28 divided by 2, you should get something like 4.6 when you round it. And then for 4 minus square root of 28 divided by 2, we should get something like negative 0.6. Again, if you don't get those, I will make sure to show you in your calculator how to make sure we get the right answer. Okay, but it is important that you show me all of these steps, okay, because if you get down to here and you have every single number right, but you get the answer wrong here, it's a calculator error. It's not a you didn't solve it out correctly error. So I will actually take this answer if you have all the numbers correct. Okay, it just happened that you didn't type it into your calculator correctly. Okay, so that's the biggest thing, is make sure to show your work. So then in case you mistype something in your calculator, okay, make sure that we have the right answer and we actually get the points for it. For this one, okay, we have to make sure that we always equal 0 first. So we have to add the 20 over, because then I can identify the correct A, B, and C. So A is 1, B is negative 12, C is 20. So then we plug into our formula. So x equals negative 12 plus or minus the square root of negative 12 squared minus 4 times 1 times 20, all over 2 times 1. So then we simplify. So two negatives make a positive. So you have 12 plus or minus the square root of, so negative 12 squared is 144, minus 4 times 1 times 20 is 80, all over 2. So then you get 12 plus or minus the square root of 64, when you subtract those, divided by 2. Create your two expressions. So we've got 12 plus square root of 64 divided by 2, and 12 minus square root of 64 divided by 2. Okay, so with the first one, we get 10. The second one, we get 2. So notice on the first example, we got 2 decimals. Second example, we got 2 whole numbers. Okay, you can have whole numbers as your answers. You could have decimals. You could have fractions. Okay, all of those are correct answers. All right, so far on the bottom, we've always had 2 times 1. Now we're going to deal with a problem that doesn't happen on the bottom of our fraction. Okay, so in this one, A is 5, B is 1, C is negative 9. So we get x equals negative 1 plus or minus the square root of 1 squared minus 4 times 5 times negative 9 all over 2 times 5. Okay, so that becomes negative 1 plus or minus the square root of 1 minus negative 180, because 4 times 5 is 20, times 9 is negative 180, all over 2 times 5, which is 10. Okay, so then simplify what's underneath your square root. So negative 1 plus or minus the square root of 181 divided by 10. Create your 2 expressions. Negative 1 plus square root of 181 divided by 10. And negative 1 minus square root of 181 divided by 10. And then we're going to type into our calculators. So with the first one, you get 1.2. Second one, you should get negative 0.4. Okay, again, make sure you're typing that into your calculator correctly, and if you have any questions on how to do that, I will answer your questions. Just make sure to show your work and get all the way down to these pieces. Because remember, if these are all correct and this is wrong, it's just typing it into the calculator.